One. Boom. We're live, which means we're counting down. Today's show now with more Andrew Mason.
As opposed to no Andrew Mason yesterday?
As opposed to, I forgot to send you the link because I am retired. Anyway.
There was a lot going on yesterday.
Yes.
So
you'll notice under pressure.
Do.
Yes, under pressure. Gotta watch out for that. As a quarterback in high school, you know what I do under pressure? Run.
I thought you were gonna say
what the
put
bed?
People on streets.
No.
It's the terror of knowing what this world is about.
No. It was one, I couldn't remember the plays.
You were screaming, "Let me out of the pocket."
Let me finish. But I was like, I couldn't remember the plays like pop, pass, out.
Imagine if you were trying to recite the plays of the Bill Walsh offense.
Exactly. Or the Kyle Shanahan offense, which is the same.
It's the same nomenclature, right?
Yeah, same language.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to Bill Walsh. Ooh, I got some bounce there.
Yeah, a little bit. We're good today. We're good. It's Friday.
Bounce.
It's Friday.
Hey, we didn't hear the Friday song.
We did a little bit
from Nathaniel Hackett last year.
Somebody was playing that, and I said, "Hey, how about we put that on a loop?" Because Jonathan Cooper was playing some other stuff in the locker room,
but we didn't hear it at practice.
And at practice,
that's the thing. Like every year, every practice last year, we heard this song. Who sang it? Do you remember?
I don't know.
It's from like the early 2000s.
It's Friday.
It's not Rebecca Black.
It's not Rebecca Black Friday.
Gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Oh gosh.
Oh, people saying clickbait title. Let's talk about the running back touches. Like, y'all think it's clickbait? We've been out at practice. So is Samaje Perine going to start? I don't think so, but could he play more than people think? Could they ease Javonte in? Everyone's thinking Javonte's good to go, and he is, Mace, but it's not like Samaje can't play, and damn it, Jaleel McLaughlin, he can play. So there's a percentage. You and I are pretty close on our percentages that people need to think about. It's not clickbait. This is reality.
It's reality. It's the reality of Javonte Williams in his first game back from a significant knee injury, a multi-ligament knee injury 11 months ago. It's the reality of that. It's that you have Samaje Perine who you trust. I mean, if Javonte Williams, let's say you and I were talking a few weeks ago, he's maybe 85% of what he was.
Yes.
If Javonte Williams is 90%, isn't that pretty close to the equal of Samaje Perine at 100%?
Yes, very much so.
There you go. Then why not balance it between the two and then have a dash of Jaleel McLaughlin in there? And yes, I'm going to call my shot. Jaleel McLaughlin is going to get some carries, and he's going to get some potentially significant carries. He's not going to have a huge number, but I think they're going to be in situations that matter in this game.
Yes, high-value touches for Jaleel McLaughlin. And I think that's what you're going to see. You're not going to see a series rotation. You might. Again, we could totally be off here, but just based on what I believe, Mace, I think at certain points of the field, Samaje is trusted closer to pay dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Jaleel is trusted on those passing down situations, need that big play, and Javonte can do it both.
The question is on Jaleel McLaughlin on those passing downs. To what level do you trust him in pass protection? And
we don't know yet.
That's the thing that may hold back his use from being more than it is. I know you and I were talking over at Broncos headquarters about this today in the media room, which is the dungeon of the field house, basically. You said 40%, 40%, 20%, 40 for Javonte Williams, 40 for Samaje Perine, 20% for Jaleel McLaughlin. I, being a nerd, went a little more exact. I said 42%, 42%, 16%.
Okay. And 16 for Jaleel.
And you know what that would mean for Jaleel McLaughlin? If you have 30 total touches among the running backs, that would mean Jaleel McLaughlin probably has about 6 of them.
Might have 40 touches if we're talking touches for the running backs.
And that would mean he's right there in the 8 touch range.
Which sounds about right.
7 to 8. 7 to 8.
If he goes 5 to 8 touches this game, high value touches, yes. I think that could be about right on the money.
Mm-hmm.
But this running back rotation, it's going to be 3. It's going to be all of them used, and it's going to be leading the way for this team. They will lead the way on the ground. That's why I think 35 carries between the 3 backs is the number. Yes,
so not even
touches.
Receptions.
Yes. So with receptions, that's where I get to the 40 number. Okay. I think there's 35 carries. If you can stay on game plan, for this Broncos team?
I think it may be. I put 30 out there kind of as a baseline for touches.
Okay.
I think if they have 40 touches, it's more on the lines of 30 carries and 10 receptions. And there are going to be some games this year where you see a huge reception total for at least one of these running backs, if not 2 or 3 of them. Think back to Javonte Williams in week 3 last year against San Francisco, lighting it up as a pass catcher more than as a running back. Given how Sean Payton likes to use his running backs as pass catching targets, I think we're going to see some games like that. Maybe a slew of games where the running backs get more yardage through the air than on the ground.
Yes.
I think there'll be multiple games like that this year.
Sean Payton can use the short passing game to basically be long handoffs.
And it can goose Russell Wilson's numbers as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're in for a good goosing.
If you're trying to kind of work on that a little bit and get Russ's rhythm going, get things down, a good way to do it is just dump offs to the running backs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what Sean Payton will do. He'll do what works. Get to the open guy, get there quickly. And Mace, can we, on a Friday, share a moment?
A shared moment?
You didn't even know this because I didn't get to chime in.
Not a shared moment like we're referring to.
Yes, not that type of shared moment. But
if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I almost chimed in because I do not like faux outrage. You were talking about the Rockies today. I'll start the baseball talk about the faux outrage over Cornhuskers Day. When these running backs touches happen and when you see potentially who the starter might be, I do not want to see Twitter faux outrage. Oh, how could they do this? And I said it on yesterday's show.
Is it faux outrage or are people legitimately outraged? I think
it might be faux outrage because they don't know about it yet.
It's misplaced outrage if it happens.
Misplaced outrage is a good way to put it, but I don't want to see any of it. This is the best way for Javonte Williams. If the starter doesn't matter, start anybody at running back. What are the touches like? I still think Javonte gets a healthy amount of touches, regardless of if Pirine starts or, dare I say, McLaughlin starts. None of that matters. So I know you don't like faux outrage either, Mace. So we had a shared moment earlier today.
Yes. Yeah. The Nebraska thing, by the way, if you're not familiar, of course, Nebraska plays CU this weekend, the big game up in Boulder, 10 a.m. on Saturday. By the way, I know it's national television, but no game should ever start at 10 a.m. That's just stupid. Anyhow, like there should, if I were president, I would put down an executive order saying that morning local time kickoffs are banned. Period. It's kickoffs, first pitches, everything. Nothing starts before noon when it comes to sports, but I digress. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, so because you've got a lot of Nebraska alums in town, the Nebraska Alumni Association booked the rooftop at Coors Field to have an event Thursday night. Look, usually when alumni associations do this around road football games, I've been to some of them, they're like at a hotel or something like that, like a hotel lobby or, conference room, a big, ballroom, whatever. Tip of the cap to Nebraska for choosing a really cool venue. But yeah, there are a lot of things you can be upset with the Rockies about because they're flailing toward their first 100-loss season. And some of that is intentional because they did tear down the deadline and they are rebuilding and they need to rebuild. But this is not something to be ticked off at the Rockies for. I mean, what? They're supposed to turn down? Hey, the Nebraska Alumni Association wants to book our space for an event on Thursday night when we don't have a game that night. And by the way, Ball Arena and Power Field at Mile High, Coors Field, in addition to being sports venues, they are event spaces.
Yes.
They
do the same thing.
They are competing with each other. The Nebraska alums could have done this over at Empower Field at Mile High.
Easily.
Yes. Okay. This is part of the business. So anyway.
Yeah.
That's when I'm talking about faux outrage. That's what it is. You'll hear more from me on Denver Sports tonight at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Ooh. Because Will Peterson and I think, are going to have a conversation about this because he's outraged. And I'm like, what is the big deal, man?
Right.
Come on.
Right. Come on, everybody.
Anyway, it wasn't really a detour into baseball. I mean, it's a baseball venue, but it is about Nebraska, Colorado.
Yes.
Because we wouldn't be having this discussion. They wouldn't have had this event if you didn't have a lot of, is it Husker Nation? Is that what it is?
They call them the Bug Eaters because that was their original name.
Big Red Nation, whatever. If you didn't have a lot of Nebraska alums in town for this thing.
Nebraska. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm also kind of neutral on this, not being from Colorado.
Yeah, I'm not, because I had Sal and Essie's initials on my wristbands and cleats in the state championship game for six-man football years ago as a quarterback.
Wouldn't you say back then that CU football
CU was larger than the Broncos,
more popular than the Broncos?
Yeah, for us fellas in high school in the
early 90s.
In the early 90s, us fellas in high school, we talked more about Big Al and Pritch and Eric Bieniemy than we did John. We usually clowned John Elway for losing all the Super Bowls.
There was national cool to CU back then.
There was.
There really was. I can say this being in Florida. The Buffs were a cool program.
That black and gold looks cool.
Yeah.
And now they're cool again with Deion Sanders. So there you go.
Now, is it going to be a celebration tomorrow? Cool in the gang?
Maybe.
You know,
it could be.
I would say Dancing in September, but that's Earth, Wind, and Fire.
So
that's a superior song.
I'll quickly wrap up my CU story. So I hate Nebraska for many reasons, but when CU went to Lincoln and they were like, "Where's your quarterback?" Speaking of Sal and Essie, who had died of cancer, the Nebraska fans and Big Al tell the story, and Pritch and all those guys, like, they were making fun of CU's quarterback passing away. That would have unforgivable.
That would have been the 1990 game, right? When they went up to Lincoln.
Yep.
En route to CU's national championship.
Yep.
Probably the biggest game that made that title possible was winning in Lincoln.
And made Tom Osborne vote for Georgia Tech and Bobby Ross.
Georgia Tech was undefeated.
They were undefeated, yes, with Bobby Ross as their coach. The guy who made Barry Sanders quit.
And remember, I also went to the University of Missouri, so we could talk about the fifth down.
We can. With a Super Bowl 34 reference. Do you remember what it is? Last play. Kevin
Mike
Dyston.
Jones had the tackle, and he's a Mizzou alum, and
he was there on the fifth down. He
was
there on the field for that play.
Yeah, but I don't want to have the entire state of Colorado, at least the Buff supporting part of that state, mad at me for saying, you won the title because you got an extra down in Columbia on that fateful day. And I remember the aftermath. Mizzou had this horrible surface called OmniTurf.
OmniTurf?
Yes, it was Canadian.
Not AstroTurf.
No, it was another brand, because it basically was a precursor to some of the modern turfs, because it had a dirt infill on it.
Okay.
And the whole point of it was, it's supposed to be softer, play more like grass with this dirt infill. What happened was actually it made it slick. And so if you watch Mizzou football home games from that era, you do see a lot of players slipping, even though they're wearing turf shoes.
Okay.
And Bill McCartney did kind of say, well, we got the fifth down. What about that turf they're playing on? But I digress. Anyway. Cruising through space says Javonte has won than everyone else. I think it's going to work out that way over the season that Javonte is number one.
Yes.
On Sunday. And look, I've said this on previous shows, kind of slow your roll a little bit. He is still working his way all the way back.
And on yesterday's show, Mace, I talked about healthier than ever. Javonte is at, let's say, 90%, which is pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
He will not be 90% the rest of the way. So we're talking about, it was like when Clinton Portis was a rookie. What, he started out at like 205? He ended that season about 180. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about weight with Javonte, but just the wear and tear of a season. Hopefully Javonte stays healthy for all 17 games and into the postseason. But the fact of the matter is, 100% injury rate. He's 90% now. He will not be 90% after this game.
Most of these players today is as healthy as they're going to be.
Yes.
This season.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. Wear and tear accumulates over time. So if he's 90% now, we're talking about 85% in a month. 80%.
Yeah.
You hope it's that. If it's more than that, then he had another injury, and that's the last thing you want to see here.
Right.
Because another significant injury for Javonte Williams really means that his career arc is in peril at that point. The big thing for Javonte Williams, I think, this year, prove that you're close to all the way back and stay healthy. If you make it through this season maybe with a minor injury too, but without any major injuries, and you're reasonably productive, I think that's a win. Brad detailing saying, tell the bug eaters from Nebraska to Casa Bonita. It's a new menu now.
Okay.
But for Casa Bonita, at least what you came to expect, it's an expensive menu. That's,
Okay.
That's the thing. I have not made it over there yet. Have you?
I have not made it over there yet either. I'm still waiting for the invite. So we'll continue to wait. But speaking of injuries,
sopapillas are still on the menu.
Sopapillas.
Do you still have to raise the Mexican flag?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I just want to yell at one of the divers like Cartman did, but I won't repeat it for the show purposes. But like, dive, blankety blank, dive.
Well,
I want to yell that.
really
don't kick me out, please.
No place in the world perfected the taste of chlorinated water that splashed into your enchilada quite like Casa Bonita did.
That's right. Speaking of injuries,
the Disneyland of Mexican restaurants.
I love it. PS2's on the injury report with an ankle injury. Mace, big deal or no?
Well, they didn't list him as questionable or doubtful or limit or anything like that. So I would say because of that,
and we saw him moving around.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I gives you something to think about. I'm not really terribly concerned.
Yeah, I'm not terribly concerned. And health-wise, we look at this team like you have to feel good. Not about everybody. Jerry Jeudy is unlikely to play.
He is officially questionable.
Yes,
but the questionable designation has a very broad.
Now it does. There used to be doubtful. Doubtful days were nice.
There were probable. You had probable, questionable, doubtful, out.
Yep, the doubtful days were nice because it meant you weren't playing, basically.
Yes.
Don't have that anymore.
I actually calculated for a couple of years there.
Why does this not surprise me?
Because I'm a nerd. Yeah. And there were 2 years where I believe the percentage of players who were doubtful that played was about 0.7%.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go.
Back when they did it.
So,
which is part of the reason why they got rid of it.
Right. Because you kind of just knew. And they did it for the Vegas lines anyway. And teams don't really like to do it. If you're New England, everybody's questionable. So there's games played with the injury report.
Everybody's limited and everybody's questionable.
Exactly. So Jody thinks Judy's playing. I don't think so. And the best way I can put it, Mace, is this way. Travis Kelce didn't have the cachet to say I'm playing in an opener that the Chiefs lost. Jerry Jeudy does not have the cachet to say that he's playing. He said it yesterday. I played the clip on the show. I still have it in there. But yeah.
You still have it? Can you play it? Do we want to replay that?
When we play video, what do we say, Mace?
We got to roll that beautiful bean footage.
Oh, I'm being 100% smart about it. Depending. I got to listen to my body, So if I feel good, I'm good. If I don't, I don't. So it all depends on how I'm feeling.
He said I'm good.
Did you have the Zoom on there, Cecil?
I did have the Zoom on.
That was... It looked like there was an earthquake going on when you were shooting that because of the Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they tell you to get them tight because they don't want anything. You don't want any butts in the background.
Well, the other thing is you don't want other people's mics and things like that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you could have pulled that one back a little bit and still been okay.
A little bit. Or somebody could buy me a stabilizer. There you go. Right.
Good grief.
I ain't too proud to beg. Do it.
Is management watching?
They're always watching. I know the Broncos are watching. So hi, Broncos. We love you and appreciate you for watching Orange and Blue today. We're presented by Champ Honda.
That was pretty smooth, by the way.
I try. Sometimes some transitions are better than others. Mace, as we tie a bow on today's show, about 10 minutes left in the program. The best game plan. What do you think it is? How do the Broncos come out on top? And, a division game. We'll see what the Chargers do. The Chargers are likely to win. Okay, can Denver win and be at top of the AFC West after 1 week?
Okay, I mean, this is going to sound very 1980s in its simplicity, but I think you run the ball and you stop the run. You run the ball because that'll take some of the spice off of Max Crosby's pass rush off the edge. You'll have to hold up. You'll have to set the edge a bit better. He can't simply pin his ears back and attack Russell Wilson. And then if you do that, you obviously get the play action game going, which is going to help Russell Wilson find his rhythm on offense. And then you contain Josh Jacobs. I mean, Josh Jacobs has torched the Broncos. And in the short term, probably the worst bit of news that they could have gotten for week one over the last 3 weeks was when Josh Jacobs ended his holdout, not signing his tender, and decided to report back to the Raiders and sign his tender in time to play this game. So that I think is where everything begins. If you run the ball well, you'll dictate the pace. You'll get the Raiders out of their comfort zone. Las Vegas wants to win with Josh Jacobs, and they also want to win with a control passing game, getting it to Hunter Renfrow and staying on rhythm that way, and then some occasional deep shots to Devontae Adams. So it's pretty clear what they want to do. If you can start by making Josh Jacobs ineffective, some of that is just making sure you don't miss tackles. You don't make mistakes. Don't let him get past the second level. If you do all that, I think Jimmy Garoppolo and the Las Vegas offense will devolve a bit.
Can Jimmy G make those deep shots, though? And I'll bring up air yards per attempt and average depth of target. For Derek Carr, it was top 10 in the league last year. For Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he was 33rd.
This is why I think they're taking a step down with going from Carr to Garoppolo.
So those deep shots are going to have to be set up. They're going to have to be wide open, because even a wide open Emmanuel Sanders, Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't see to win a Super Bowl.
Which is why I actually think Hunter Renfrow becomes more important.
Hunter Renfrow is going to be huge in this game,
because what Josh McDaniels wants to do play calling wise and what Jimmy Garoppolo's strengths are as a quarterback, those both lend themselves to a heavy dose of Hunter Renfrow, which means Isang Bassi starting for K'Wan Williams at the nickel corner. He's going to be under fire in this game. Now, if they're throwing in his direction often, that means a chance for a fourth consecutive game with an interception.
Go for it.
For Isang Bassi. Wouldn't that be something to talk about? But he is going to have trial by fire in what is going to probably be his most extensive work to date as a pro.
Broncos have a hell of a pass rush, so we know football 101 is draw plays and screen passes. We talked about Jacobs as a runner. It's going to be difficult to stop. Jacobs as a receiver, though. Renfrow, and if they had a Darren Waller, that'd be nice for them. But like, they don't.
Things went sideways.
They did.
The Raiders are kind of a,
dumpster fire
test subject of how to mismanage things.
It's Mark Davis, everybody.
A little bit. He hired the wrong coach. He should have stuck with Rich Bisaccia after they made the playoffs. I mean, you make the playoffs for the first time in 5 years.
And players love Bisaccia.
And, oh, by the way, you do it in a season that was complete chaos. Your first round pick of the previous year, goes out. He was drunk, right? Like he was a DUI. He is going 140 miles an hour and kills somebody in his car.
Underdog.
Yeah. It was just incredible tragedy there. You had all the stuff with John Gruden and the racist stuff that was in the emails coming to light, and he ends up having to leave as coach. There was so much stuff that should have sunk that team, understandably so, and somehow as the season went on, Rich Bisaccia kept them together despite the stuff that was going on. It's not adversity. You know what? Adversity usually is like something that kind of happens, to you. Whereas with the stuff with the Raiders, with both Henry Ruggs and John Gruden, it was self-inflicted on the parts of those two people. But Bisaccia did a good job keeping things together. They rallied at the end. They made the playoffs, and the reward was, oh yeah, let's go get Josh McDaniels. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
You overthink.
And this is what you get when you get Josh McDaniels. You get a nightmare. So
you get good game plans. And that's the thing. There will be some good moments for the Raiders in this game. They will have some good play design. I mean, basically, they won that game in overtime last year, where Pat Surtain was kind of, caught out of position. That was brilliant play design on the game-winning touchdown. Taking advantage of a fatigued Bronco defense that had just allowed the Raiders to march down the field and tie the game and force overtime. And the Raiders, of course, win the coin flip.
But the drop off from Carr to Garoppolo, and Carr's not great. Carr has a ceiling, but from Carr to Garoppolo, I think is a greater step down. And good luck with that.
I think they're both in that mid category, but Carr's on the high end of mid. Like,
yes.
The high end of mid means you push to be a top 10, top 12 quarterback. The low end of mid means you're probably around best
20.
16, more likely 18 to 23 or so.
Okay.
I mean, you could argue that Russell Wilson last year, though, wasn't even mid.
No, he wasn't. He's hoping to be mid this year. But with mid and Sean Payton, you can win a lot of games.
He's aspiring to middle.
That's correct. Should PS2 move and travel with Davante Adams? I have a different opinion than former players that I've talked to.
What do the former players say?
They say he should travel. I don't think he should. One, you don't necessarily need him to. Again, Jimmy G, everybody. And you can formulate a plan with Damari and Justin Simmons bracketing on Davante so that PS2 just takes one side of the field. Just take one side of the field away. Don't worry about this mano-a-mano, Surtain versus Adams. However, I think PS2 is going to trail him. I think he's going to follow him. And that's not from any sort of practice observation. That's just my belief because players think that's the best option.
Well, yeah, like, you're one on your one. When you get it down to a simplistic calculus like that, it makes sense. However, and why I tend to say, all right, let's just, with this defense, especially if Vance Joseph is running, go ahead and just go left, right. You mentioned you bracket with Justin Simmons. Part of your strategy is you want to set up opportunities for potential takeaways, right? And if you've got a bracket situation with Simmons kind of watching and then following the track of the ball and trying to pick it off, if you have that, you can maybe sucker Jimmy Garoppolo into a couple of bad throws that you can pick off. And you did force some turnovers from Jimmy Garoppolo last year when he came in with San Francisco. And of course, that was in week 3. The Broncos won that game 11-10. I think you look for something like that. If you have matchups where it's Damari Mathis on Devontae Adams, pardon me, PS2 on the other side, but you set that, but you know that the ball is going to come in his direction, and then Justin Simmons is on point to make a play on the ball.
I even think Simmons could bait Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he's going to look open against Mathis.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy G is going to be like, I was told to throw it here. And then Simmons can pick him off. I think it almost plays into their hands to do that. Takeaways.
That's one way this thing is going to work, is if you get takeaways on defense.
I believe so, yes.
You need explosives on both sides of the ball. If you're talking about 2 takeaways on defense from the Broncos, I think they win this game. D-Rock says, Professor Mace, may I have an extension on my report after the victory? Sure. You know what? There's a 24-hour rule, right? You win or lose, you get 24 hours. So when that game ends, 5:25 Mountain Time or whatever on Sunday, there's your 24 hours. You start that extension. David Smock saying, good to see us, Cease. Go Raiders. Hey, nice to see some silver and black chiming in on orange and blue.
Yeah, that's my buddy David. I grew up with him in Grover. Actually, got pulled over once, Mace.
You got pulled over in Grover?
No, actually, it was in Cheyenne. But David lived with my sister at the time, so I knew his address. We both have dark hair. I couldn't remember his birthday. I didn't have a driver's license.
Live with your sister, so was there a relationship? Or
Oh, yeah. They were boyfriend, girlfriend.
All right.
And I consider David family, even if he is a Raiders fan. But so I didn't have a license for 5 years. It was just suspended, no Deweys or nothing like that. But anyway, so I told the cop my name was...
I'm not going to get the details on there. Off air, I may.
Off air, yes. I just told the cop, I was like, I'm David Smock. I live on Lake Street in Fort Collins. And he's like, what's your birthday? And I was like, it's in August. I couldn't remember David's birthday. And so the cop's like, you don't know your birthday? And I was like, no, man, I'm just all stressed out. And so they called their house. No. Okay. They called the house. I don't know if David answered, but Marlita was like, that's my brother. And so I went to jail. Anyway.
Wow.
The night I spent a night in jail in Cheyenne.
What was that
because of David Smock. Well, because I couldn't remember David's birthday, which now is I think it's the 21st, David.
Here's the thing.
I still don't know what it is.
You just said you spent a night in jail because of David Smock. You didn't spend a night in jail because of David. You spent a night in jail because you didn't know his birthday.
Yes.
And because you were trying to use a fake name to get away with something.
Yeah, so when I went in front of the judge, he's like, how old are you? And I go, 19. And he goes, act like it. Bam, $500. $500 mistake.
At least you didn't go to jail.
Well, I mean, for a night. I was there overnight.
A night, but you didn't go, you didn't get a sentence.
I was in prison.
Yeah. What is the Wyoming State Penitentiary like? Do we know?
I don't think we want to know. Anyway.
Sounds like an HBO show or something.
Sounds like a country song.
The Wyoming State Pen. I think I don't know if that rolls off the tongue in the same way that Stuck in Folsom Prison does.
Right. Oh man, David says wrong. It's the 29th. Sorry, David. I still can't get your birthday right.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm glad you don't get asked that again.
Yeah.
Cecil's hair and getup is screaming Jesse's Girl era Rick Springfield. How come it's always Jesse's Girl and there's no love for Don't Talk to Strangers?
Exactly.
Maybe the superior song, in my opinion, of the Rick Springfield catalog.
Right. Where's our Billy Squire talk? Anyway, is that a wrap for today? Are we wrapped? It's Raiders week, baby.
We're talking about Rick Springfield references and
I'm going to jail.
The Wyoming State Pen, or is it the Cheyenne County Jail that you were in?
Yeah, whatever it was. Laramie County Jail.
Whatever. I think you kind of know when we're good. I think we're good. I think we're ready to just step out, enjoy the weekend for a little bit. I've got Denver Sports Tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can listen to that on 104.3 The Fan in Denver, of course, on the Denver Sports app, denversports.com, wherever you are. And we'll chop up a little bit more on this game to come, and then enjoy your Saturday. It's a big college football Saturday. I, being my own man, will be watching a soccer game tomorrow night.
But during the day, you'll be watching CU, right?
Part of it. I don't plan my Saturday around college football anymore.
CU Nebraska, though.
I went for a nice hike last week. I'm going to go for a hike tomorrow.
Where are you going?
I don't know. I'm going to
go to Waterton Canyon. I'll join you.
I'm going to go to alltrails.com and find a spot. Like that's my
Waterton Canyon, because I live right next to it.
Okay.
Is the best. You can see bighorn sheep. What are the hikes that you're going to go on All Trails is going to show you bighorn sheep?
You can watch the Colorado State Rams, or you can actually go watch actual bighorn sheep.
The bighorn sheep would be better at football.
Based on last week, they would.
Anyway, he's Mace. I'm Cease. OBT is a BFD, and we appreciate you. He's a good guy. I'm a scoundrel. Anyway, thank you to Matthew.
I can be a scoundrel.
You have scoundrel tendencies. I'm a legit scoundrel. You have scoundrel tendencies.
Han Solo was a scoundrel.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. I guess I'm not Han.
You're Luke.
I don't know if I'm Luke.
What do you have against innocent farm boys?
He whined a lot. Like, I would have listened to Yoda, okay? I would have listened to what Yoda was trying to tell me. Once he had that realization, especially in the cave, I wouldn't have been like, no, I got it. No, I got it.
Will they die? They might.
Yeah, and you know what? Turned out he didn't help, right? In fact,
he was the bait.
He put Leia, Chewie, Lando, 3PO, and R2, he put them at greater risk because Leia felt his presence and had to come screaming back to the base of Cloud City to pick him up as the TIE fighters were arriving. So Luke really did mess things up. I don't know. I mean, which character would I be?
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks, Sean Ponda.
I think I'd rather be Mando, but that's just me.
All right. I could see it.
Yeah. With my little Grogu. Going wherever I go.
This is the way.
It is.
Go kick their ass, Broncos. Stay frosty.